A Literature Appreciation Day led to an appraisal of the burning issues surrounding Nigeria's unity amid calls for restructuring the country and secession clamors by the indigenous people of Biafra. The setting was Kaima in Bayelsa State, where students of the Ijaw National Academy had an interactive session with Professor Wale Oshunde, John Pepper Clark, and other Ijaw literary icons. TVC News of Yeteme George reports.
As a writer, what comes first? Is it the title, storyline, or just a word?
I myself cannot answer that question. I just do not know.
The thought-provoking questions of students of the Ijaw National Academy during the interactive session titled A Day with Nobel laureate Professor Wale Oshunde and Ijaw literary icons. Musical performances and drama presentations were part of the program, but predictably, the question of Nigeria's unity could not be overlooked.
What the argument should be, what the question should be is, should Nigeria break up? And my answer to that is no. But please don't tell me Nigeria as it stands is non-negotiable. For me, this is a fallacy. The nation has got to be negotiated. Negotiation includes ensuring that there is no marginalization. Negotiation has to do with control of resources. Negotiation has to do with structuring the nation in a way in which the components, the constituents, are not feeding an over-bloated center to the detriment of their own development.
From your backyards, they carve out portions of land and call it in Abuja and Lagos and other capitals of the world. They call it oil blocks. And don't allow anybody to intimidate you. That's why we're investing in education as a weapon for fighting intimidation and oppression. Continue to raise the issues. What is going on in all your communities, I've described it severally as environmental terrorism.
The 1986 Nobel Prize winner in literature says he was inspired to write the play The Swamp Dwellers when he first visited Bayelsa State many years ago. Has anything changed today?
What is going on here, the new initiatives, even a more expanded and structured educational drive, because I'm watching the Swamp Dwellers being transformed into the book dwellers. And that, for me, is the answer to your question.
I had no idea that an institution as impressive as this is on ground in Kayama. The Ijaw National Academy idea is a brilliant one. I really want to commend the government for this because he's sowing into the future of our children.
Drums of appreciation providing the icing on the cake in an otherwise successful Literature Appreciation Day. Yeteme George, TVC News, Kayama, Bayelsa State.
Still on the calls for restructuring, joining us now in the studio to share his thoughts on the issue is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst, Wale Oshunde. Thank you very much for joining us at this time. With the latest calls now, of course, the Nobel laureate Wale Oshunde is not just talking about this. He's been, going on and on about this. It's a topic that has been identified with Nigerians, but the stage at which Nigeria has reached now, is there any going back on this clamor for restructuring?
Well, I clearly do not think so, because if you look at Professor Wale Oshunde as a person, and I mean joining his voice with that of numerous Nigerians, very eminent one at that, saying that we should actually come to the table again to talk about our continued existence as one indivisible entity. I think it's actually something that we need to take very seriously. You need to look at the personalities of other eminent Nigerians who have also lend their voices to the fact that we need to actually sit down, renegotiate the terms for our collective unity, you know, and our collective patrimony, if you call it, you know, I think we need to actually take it very seriously and begin to look at the issues. I've been talking about the fact that there was a confab report of the 2014 conference, you know, and then we are actually not saying anything about it. A lot of issues have been raised in that document, and then presented to the then president. I mean, and then we have a new government in place now, and then we're still not saying anything about it. Perhaps if we had actually taken a very serious look at that document, and then we had, you know, taking steps to ensure that some of those recommendations are attended to properly, maybe people would actually not be in town now and then still talking about restructuring of Nigeria, because a lot of issues were actually addressed that conference, and then, you know, they made a fantastic report to Nigerians, and people are saying that, okay, implement, you know, the recommendations of that confab report, and if you are actually not doing that, then you have to clamor for a new call for restructuring.
There's been talk about, let's go back to that, the recommendations now in the 2014 confab, but of course under President Buhari there still hasn't been a conclusion as to what to do with these calls for restructuring. Of course the acting president is already mindful of this latest clamor now, but what will be the process to this restructuring, and how long will, you know, Nigerians get to have their yearnings met now? When you look at what the law can allow, what the law will not allow in these calls for restructuring, I mean, how long can it get? Can it be shortened?
It's unfortunate. It is only in Nigeria that you find this kind of a situation. You know, we take 10 steps forward and then we take about 13 steps backward again, you know, because at this time and age, we should actually not be talking about implementation of that confab report, and then we are coming again to say, okay, and maybe we should forget about that and let's begin another process. We want to waste another, you know, we're wasting resources. That's the honest truth. But the truth is that the way Nigeria is configured right now, and we need to start listening to our elders, our statesmen, who are saying that, excuse me, we need to sit down and renegotiate the terms upon which we actually call ourselves Nigeria, an entity indivisible under God.
If we sit down and renegotiate, isn't that another conference that we will have to, you know, stomach?
Well, because we have failed to actually come to terms with the recommendations of the confab report.
So the best way you feel will be for us to just convene another conference?
No. My own thought, you see, the best way, you know, to actually get out of this quagmire is to ensure that that confab report is revisited, and very, very quickly too. You see, the moment we begin to look at the issues raised in that in that confab report, and then we begin to implement some of those recommendations, you know, I think will be the better for it. Because the truth is that we cannot afford to waste resources again. You know how many billions of naira was actually involved in that project in 2014. I mean, we had to gather a lot of our statesmen, a lot of our leaders, and what in Abuja. We funded the whole thing and all that, save for a few of them who actually said, okay, no, they want to just contribute on their own. So I don't think right now, with the recession, with everything that we are facing and what have you, we need to now, you know, convoke another conference again, spend another money and whatever. We should just revisit that confab report. If there are areas that we think we are not clear about, and then we still think that we need to still continue to talk and dialogue about, fantastic. It's okay. That gives us a streamlined document to work with. And not even now that the National Assembly is very much interested in actually talking about this document. I mean, the confab report.
Many of these agitators are saying, take us back to the system of governance before the military came in to rule, where, you know, states had control of their resources, or perhaps regions, where regions had control of their resources. But then people are also saying now, those who are somewhat against this restructuring are saying there's still a need for restructuring of the mind. The basic Nigerians now, so many behavioral patterns now would have to change, so to speak, because if and when we get you know, things restructured, governance restructured now, would it curb lack of governance in areas in the country? Would it curb lawlessness or corruption? What are your thoughts?
The truth is that we need to go back to that regional system of government, where every region, you know, would actually gather funds, do stores for their various regions, and then bring something to the center. It should not be the other way around. I mean, a senator actually said the other day that this is a feeding bottle arrangement, you know, a situation whereby the center holds the feeding bottle and then we're actually, you know, sharing to the states. It does not really make sense. But let each region or each state now, you know, generate their own resources and give something to the center. You will see that with that, you know, all these blessed resources that we have in Nigeria will be harnessed, and then the various states will be the better for it. That's the honest truth. I mean, we have quite a lot of resources in every state of this country, and so we need to begin to develop those resources. We need to begin to tap those resources and then use them for the benefit of the people. All
right, Wale Oshunde, of course, it's a lingering conversation. Thank you very much for lending your voice and now to, you know, what Nigerians have, you know, held dear or are holding dear to their hearts. Wale Oshunde there, lawyer, public affairs analyst. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.